Okay, we're going to solder down a couple of chip capacitors here to show how it's done. The first thing you've got to do, of course, is remove the parts from the carrier, which is done by finding the edge of the little covering and peeling it back with your tweezers, and then dump the parts out. And then you just very lightly tin one of the two pads which the capacitors will go. Pick up the part with your tweezer, position it over the pad, and add a little heat. Do the same for the second part. Now we simply have to solder the other end. And that's all there is to it. Now we'll put the ICs down. A little 6-pin SOT. We tin the corner pin first. Find the part. Place it over the pads. Tack down that corner pin. And then solder the rest of the leads. Okay, let's do one of the transistors too. This will be a good one. For these, I simply solder the center pin, tin the solder center pin. Find the part over here. Place it over the pads. And then solder the other two leads. And maybe touch that up a little bit. And there you go. Nothing to it. Okay, now we're going to show you how to use solder paste, which comes in a small syringe with a very fine tip. All we need to do is place a very small dab of the paste on each pad. And then pick up the part and put it in place. Alignment isn't all that critical because the part will sort of snap into place when the solder paste melts. Now for an IC, we simply put a little bead of solder along the pads, and then place the chip down. And get it centered over the pads. Now we'll put a couple more parts down. just like that. And we're just going to put those few parts there to illustrate how this works. You would actually put all the parts down on the board first. And now it's time to heat up the board and melt the solder paste. So let's set up to do that. I'm going to be using this electric griddle here to preheat my circuit board. This is a little bit of an overkill because it's quite a bit larger than the circuit board. But the grill was only $15, so that's hard to beat. And we have a little thermostat over here which we can set the temperature to 200 degrees, which will bring the circuit board up to a little bit below the point where the solder melts. Then in order to get it the rest of the way, we'll be using this electric embossing heat pencil. And the reason for using this is because it has a very gentle airflow and a low heat. We don't want to be blowing so much air that the parts come off the board. So we have our circuit board on there, and we can turn the heat up to about 200 degrees and let it warm up. Okay, we have our board preheated. We know it's about ready when you see a little bit of smoke come off the solder. So it's time to start up the embossing gun and add a little additional heat. You have to be careful about these tombstoning. You can see we've got a little too much solder paste over on this corner here, so that'll have to be removed with the solder wick. But other than that, looks good. Now we can turn off the heat, the electric griddle, and let the board cool down, and we're all set.